Welcome to the Vault Studios NFL podcast, an Australian twist on all things NFL. The boys are cracking into a nice cold beer from Burnley Brewing. Let's join them.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I am your host, J.A., and I am joined not this week by Richie Garraway. He's having some time off. I'm joined by the great man, Corey, all the way from WA. What is it, about 11 a.m. over there, Corey? Welcome.
Not quite. But yes, I am here to join you. A little bit of a hiatus for both of us. So it's good to be back on the airwaves.
Well, it's been a rough few weeks because we've lost poor Brad's lost his internet for the fantasy show and then got COVID. So you guys haven't been doing the fantasy show. Me and Richie have just honestly just not found the time to be able to record with, you know, the silly season at work and then football season being in full swing with us playing and coaching, which has been a nightmare. It's been hard work. But I thought, who else would be up at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday night? Someone who lives in WA where it's only 8 p.m. now? 8 p.m. right now?
8, yep.
8 p.m. right now. So I thought, well, I'll hit up Corey and then I can utilize the time where I'm sitting up looking at a blank ceiling in bed where I can't sleep and feel like I'll just talk some football with Corey late at night. So it's worked out perfectly.
Perfect. I mean, there's no better way to do it, I don't think.
No, absolutely not. Well, what we thought we'd do today is, it's been a few weeks off, so I don't want to get into the news and everything. What I thought we'd do is we'd go into basically a bit of a look at the season and how we think it's going to finish up. Almost like what we do for our mid-season review, but it's more of a three-quarter, I guess. What are we at? 9-3. Yeah, about a three-quarter review where we look at everything, pick our award winners for the final season and who's going to win the divisions and the playoff teams. First, I want to start by thanking our good friends at Burnley Brewing. Corey, that box of beer that I made while sitting on stream with you is still sitting right here. So, look, at this point,
I check the mail every day.
It is still sitting right here. It's even got your address written on it. I just haven't walked up. I just haven't taken it up. So that's how you
service. Does it not work where you can just be like, the mail guy comes by and can like just give it to him?
I go to the post office all the time for work and I forget. I'm just a genuine piece of shit. And to the boys on the college football podcast, Will and Kempy, just so you know, every week I thoroughly enjoy just the dead set jabs you take at me, because I've got a box for you two too that I haven't sent either, sitting there with your address on it. So I've got to recheck your address because it's been that long. I don't know if maybe you guys have moved. Maybe they've moved.
I'm good. Send it, man.
Just to make sure. That's how long it's been. But they'll forget. There's one of the long-time listeners of the shows who ordered a T-shirt 2 years ago, and it's still sitting a year and a half ago. It's still sitting in the packaging, and I even put in a box of beer for him because I stuffed him around, and it's still sitting there. And he's like, "We're going to do T-shirts again soon." So he's like, "Just wait to the new T-shirts to come, and then send me a new T-shirt as well." I'm like, "Yeah, cool." So that's Paul Egan, one of our long-time fans. So I am useless when it comes to shipping things. I've got to be honest. So. And as I did mention, the college football boys, we're into the bowl games now, aren't we? The playoffs happened last week.
Playoff and bowl game season will be coming up.
So I imagine there'll be a recording side as well, Kempy and Will, and it's a great show there. Like, they've actually brought some love for me with college football. I wasn't a big college football fan, but they've kind of grabbed me in a little bit this year. I've enjoyed watching them. Do you reckon Alabama get in the Final Four now, Corey?
No, Ohio State did.
So that's decided now. So what was it?
Yeah.
Who was one? Georgia?
Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and TCU.
Yeah, nice. Richie will be a very happy man with TCU in there. He's a TCU man, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get stuck into it. I guess there's no better place to start in the AFC, and we'll start in the AFC East. Currently, the Buffalo Bills are leading the division on 9-3. We've got the Dolphins second at 8-4, the Jets at 7-5, and your New England Patriots, Corey, at 6-6. This is a tough division. This is really tough. Like, this is one of the best divisions in football. I think the Jets are going to get found out over the next few weeks. They have a really, really tough run home. I'd be shocked if they're able to win to make the playoffs. I'm just getting their schedule up now because it's
I don't know.
They've got Buffalo,
Yeah.
Detroit, who are rolling right now. Now they're not
Yeah.
good. Detroit, the Jaguars, who are finding their feet a little bit. Like realistically, they should win those two. If I give them those two games, then they're at Seattle and at Miami Dolphins the last two games.
Right. So I think they need to win 3 of their last. Or where are they at? They're at, yeah. If they get to 10 wins, I think they're in. So very possible that they could get in here, especially with, we'll talk about some other teams later on. But yeah, I think if they win 3 of those games, they can get in. So even if they can sneak one past either Miami or Buffalo second time, which I don't think that's going to happen, but Miami possibly, especially with that defense, I think they could get 3 of these last 5.
Mike White's given them a sign of life, which has been good. And like,
Yeah,
Wilson was just horrific. He was the worst quarterback in the league, and anything upgrade from him. So what Mike White's been able to do has been really good. Is he the long-term starter and future guy? I don't know. I think they probably owe him the opportunity next year if he gets into the playoffs. But let's wait and see. But that defense is rolling. Robert Saleh, we'll talk about some awards later, but I have him right now up there. But I just think that the run home is going to be a little bit tough. I think the Bills win this division. I think the Dolphins are second in the division, and the Jets are really fighting with teams like the Patriots, Chargers, even the Raiders, who are still alive, who we'll come to later. But can you see anyone else winning the division but Buffalo?
No, probably not at this stage. I think Buffalo's the class of, the AFC. They're right there with the Chiefs, and I think they will finish off this division pretty easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at where we had them at the start of the year in the AFC East. We all had the Bills. The entire Vault Studio had the Bills winning the division. So right now that's looking pretty sharp to happen, and I imagine it will happen. Let's go over to the AFC North, which is a little bit of a tighter division. You've got Baltimore and the Bengals on 8-4 each. They play each other this week, if I remember correctly. Then Cleveland Browns and Pittsburgh at 5-7. I think we can both. Are you happy to agree with me that Pittsburgh and Cleveland are done? I can't see them rallying home and getting a playoff spot. They're 2 games behind the Jets. Cleveland have got the head-to-head tiebreak. Don't have the head-to-head tiebreaker against the Jets as well, so they have to win 3 of their last 5 games. The Jets have to basically lose out. So,
I think the Browns would have to win out to have a realistic chance.
You have to win 10
against the Bengals again this week.
They do beat the Bengals a lot. Like, they actually have owned the Bengals the last couple of years. That Bengals-Chiefs game was just outstanding on the weekend. Burrow is Mahomes' dad. I think he has to call him dad now. That's what they're saying. So
the Browns did beat the Bengals 32-13 earlier this year.
That's what I thought. So that was early on when the Bengals were kind of working it all out. The big news is out of Baltimore, though, that Lamar Jackson's hurt. They're saying it's a 1 to 3 week injury, so it's definitely going to be
PCL injury.
If I was Lamar Jackson, I'd be like, I'm out for 3 weeks, and you've got 3 weeks to sign me to a long-term contract. If you don't, I'm not coming back. I'm injured. Bad luck. He has got the ultimate leverage now because they are going to. There is no offensive talent in the league that with a top 10 quarterback worse than what Baltimore have. Their offensive talent is horrendous. They just signed Deshaun Jackson because he's playing meaningful snaps. Like, he's starting for them. Well, that's how bad.
Their best options right now are guys that they signed from the Raiders when they cut them in the preseason, like Kenyon Drake and Demarcus Robinson.
It's unbelievable. Like, Mark Andrews is still really good, but he's the only option. You can't really rely on.
He's banged up,
and he's hurt. So I think Cincinnati run away with this division. I think we still have Baltimore. Yeah, I think we still have Baltimore in the playoffs.
I don't think Bengals run away with this.
You don't reckon Bengals do?
No.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are playing way too well. I think that win over the Chiefs. I'm high on them. They're getting that.
I think it blinded you, that win.
Yeah. Who do you reckon?
I think the Ravens win the division.
That's who we all had the Ravens winning the division too in the North. We were really boring predictors, but
the Bengals run home is not easy. Like, we just talked. You just said how well the Browns play against the Bengals. Like
Ravens
Browns
have
do
got
have pass rushers.
Ravens have got
So
Steelers who can't score.
they got
Browns
Steelers twice.
who are okay. Falcons are terrible, and they got Steelers. They get Steelers twice. Falcons, Bengals, and Browns, and the Bengals isn't the last game of the season, so it might already be decided by them.
Yeah, I
You're
think
right.
it might come down to that game actually.
I think they can win the next 3 games without Lamar. They're a really good defense, and they're playing crappy offenses. Unless Deshaun Watson can work it out.
I think people over, like, yes, their defense played good last week, but that defense needs to take another step, I think, because I think whenever we think Baltimore Ravens defense, like, we kind of like just the black uniforms and like, oh yeah, this is a good defense, but I don't think they're actually good. I think they're just like middle of the pack.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, but they're solid. They're certainly not bad, and they're like against the Steelers. The Steelers' offense is horrendous. Like I think they'll be able to take care of the Steelers.
Well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they've allowed 236 points, which is I can't tell if that's 9th best or 9th worst. I'm assuming it's 9th best. That's a lot of points though.
I'm gonna check DVOA for you right now, but
yeah, they're the 8th ranked defense on Pro Football Focus.
Oh, they are 9th in DVOA, so
they're a solid. You're right. 9th isn't far off middle of the 9th isn't far off middle of the pack though. Like 6, it's good, but they're good and they're playing crappy offenses the next 3 weeks, so they can survive. And then they get the Steelers in the next 4 weeks. They get the Steelers twice, who are one of the worst offenses. The Falcons, who are horrendous, and the Browns. So if Deshaun Watson's not flashing his dick to people, who knows what he's doing? You know, he's certainly not throwing touchdowns because he didn't do that on the weekend. So
he's a bit rusty, I think.
Yeah. I still think he's a very good player, just a total piece of shit. But yeah, I think I don't know. I'm going to take the Bengals. I think both the teams make the playoffs. It probably comes down to the last game of the season, and I'm finding it really hard to go against Joe Burrows in any way at the moment. I just think they got Lamar Chase back now. The offensive line starting to work it out a bit. Lyle Collins starting to play a lot better. They'll get Joe Mixon back this week. They're just they're putting all the pieces together at the right time. That's my concern. But yeah, it'll be a tight one. So you've got Baltimore winning that. I got the Bengals. Let's move over to the AFC South, where.
And I would just add on that this is Huntley's time, and we talked about Lamar's contract and things like that, but I'm pretty sure Huntley is on a 1-year deal. So if he could lead some semblance of an offense here and carry this team while Lamar's out, he's a restricted free agent next year.
So he's playing for a contract.
Yeah.
I think Huntley can get the job done. He had a really good final drive on the weekend. That was a really good drive to win the game. So, when do they get Dobbins back? Is he coming back this year?
Oh, he's not coming back.
Yeah, he's just they really need him. But we'll see.
They really need him.
AFC South, Tennessee Titans are well and truly clear in front at 7-5. You've got the Colts at 4-8, Jaguars at 4-8, and the Houston just awful Texans at 1-10-1. I think as much as Lawrence I think he's playing better the last couple of weeks. I'm still not buying it. I think he'll end up being okay, and I think the Jaguars can probably turn it around in the next couple of seasons, but not this year. The Colts, like realistically, after what the Cowboys did to them on the weekend in one quarter, they shouldn't be. They should just not suit up this week. That was horrendous. I was a Cowboys fan, even I was over it by halfway through the fourth quarter. It was just embarrassing. Matt Ryan's been a complete shit show. They need to rebuild that entire organization. The Jeff Saturday hiring is, to be quite frank, an embarrassment to football coaches. I think it's a disgrace. He's been horrendous. He doesn't know what he's doing. He clearly knows how to play football and he knows how to be around football players, but he's not a head coach. And it's a real spit in the face of everyone at that organization. So they would have been better off letting Frank Reich coach the rest of the year and then firing him at the end of the year and finding another coach then. I just don't understand what Jim Irsay is up to. You disagree with any of those three teams? You think they're all pretty much done?
Yeah, and Tennessee fired their GM. So there you go.
That is hilarious. So they go and play the Eagles, who AJ Brown goes off for 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards, and they fire their GM the next morning, who traded him. It's pretty brutal stuff. But he has 3 times more touchdowns than every Titans receiver combined, AJ Brown, this season. Like that's
Yeah,
one.
but
That's
Titans don't
one.
play the ball.
Yeah, Tannehill was crap, but that is horrendous. That's one of the worst trades in the history of the NFL. But I guess what they're thinking is that he'd just be wasting his time on the Titans where they wouldn't throw him the ball anyway.
I don't think it's one of the worst trades in the NFL, but
Pretty bad. If Traylon Burks doesn't end up being
but,
good, it's horrendous.
Okay, well, we don't know that yet. Traylon Burks had a hell of a catch in that game before he got knocked out.
That's what he did get. Oh, he got knocked the fuck out. He was out.
So, kudos to him.
Burks ended up being good. But yeah, you're right. Like AJ, I guess their mindset's probably, well, AJ Brown would just be wasted on this team anyway because we've got no one who can throw him the ball.
What are you paying him to do? Like they're basically in the same spot they were last year with AJ Brown.
Yeah, that's true.
First place in the division.
That's true. That's true. Well,
they were the 1 seed last year, to be fair. But
I just don't think the Titans are a competitor for the Super Bowl. I think they'll win the division. They'll win it probably pretty easily. But I just don't think they've still got 4 division games left, 3 division games left in their last 5, which I think they'll probably win all 3 of them. That'll give them a 10-win record. They'll probably win one of the others. They'll probably win 10 or 11 games, win the division, get a home final and get a home playoff and lose to a team like the Bengals or the Ravens who'll come in and take care of them. That's what I think will happen. I just don't think the Titans are that good a football team.
Yeah, sadly, there's not a lot of real Super Bowl contenders in the NFL this year.
Yeah. No, let's go over to the AFC West where there is a Super Bowl contender in the Kansas City Chiefs at 9-3. And then there's probably the 3 most disappointing teams in football this season with the LA Chargers at 6-6, the Raiders at 5-7, and the Denver Broncos at 3-9. Actually, if I'm calling out horrendous trades, the Russell Wilson one might be worse than AJ Brown.
Might.
Do you know what? Do you know what the fun part is? So you got your 5-year extension. Do you know that doesn't even kick in till the end of next season? He still has a 2-year contract left, and then he has 7 years of contract. Now the cap hit for the next 4 years is only $22 million a year, so it's not massive. But if you were to trade him, the dead money split over the next 5 years is like $200 million. They're fucked. That they are stuck with Russell Wilson for at least the next 3 or 4 years before they can do anything. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom. Let's let them reset in the offseason, maybe add a little bit of talent. Judy probably hasn't worked out. The offensive line's not great. They don't run the ball very well. They lost Williams early. So, look, he hasn't been good, but you never know. He might bounce back next year and be better.
Bro,
the Raiders.
Wait.
Talk to me.
I'm just looking at Spot Track right now. They have no out really until 2026 when Russell Wilson's 38 years old.
They don't have any out.
They still have to eat $31.2 million on dead cap.
They're absolutely fucked. Like they've got no way out of it. They can't even trade him out of it, and he's got a no trade clause, so he has to agree to a trade even if they want to trade him. He could literally just be like, "You can't trade me. I'm just going to stay here as your backup."
He doesn't hit free agency until he's 41.
It's insane. It's one of the most horrendous contracts you'll ever see. Now, I can't even remember at the time if I thought it was good or bad. I think I probably thought, well, that's what you pay quarterbacks. After his last season, I probably would have just let him play a season. Considering he's got a 2-year deal still, I would have been like, let's see how you go this year, and then we'll look to extend you. It's just a bonehead fucking move by the Broncos. Like, make him play a season after trading him, and then you'd be going into his contract year next year, and you can go, all right, if you play better, then we'll re-sign you. If you don't, then we'll just walk away and eat the first-round picks. Because now they're giving up their future picks, plus they can't get rid of him. They're going to be paying him $30 million a year for the next 6 years. And they can't sign another quarterback. He's going to eat their cap. So, yeah, horrendous stuff by the. But I think everyone's a bit surprised. I didn't think he'd be this bad. Have you seen the guy on TikTok that talks about him competing with how many touchdown passes he throws this season compared to how many toilets he has in his house, how many bathrooms he has in his house? So he has 12 bathrooms in his house, and he's only thrown 7 touchdowns. This guy does a weekly TikTok updating how much closer he's getting to out throwing more touchdowns than bathrooms.
No, I haven't seen that. That's ridiculous. But there were some telltale signs about this stuff, and I think because he was kind of in that incubator of the Seattle kind of infrastructure, everyone's looking at Pete Carroll and the offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator and offensive line and blah blah blah. But yeah, it's brutal, especially after seeing what Geno's done this year.
Oh, Geno's, but yeah, we'll talk about him a bit later. But he's been the surprise packet of the year, unbelievable. Can we talk Raiders? Sorry.
Yeah, we can talk quickly about the Raiders. I just think they're just been that unlucky team. I think they're actually,
I think they're decent.
A pretty good team. Yeah, I think there's, it happens in the NFL. Some teams are really lucky. Some teams aren't. Like, we'll talk about a lucky team later in NFC North.
They've lost 5 games by under a touchdown.
Right.
Raiders. 5 games by under a touchdown. That just shows you. And they've won the last couple. I don't know if this is a big call or whatever. I think the Raiders are a better team than the Chargers, personally. I don't think the Chargers are very good. I am so disappointed on the Chargers. Every year, I hedge my bets to them. Every year, I'm like, nah, they're going to be good. Yeah, they've had injuries. They had Slater and J.C. Jackson, all that stuff.
I hate that. I hate that excuse so much.
Yeah, it's but
every team has got injuries.
They're all losing starters. They're all losing dudes. They just and the things like I love Justin Herbert, and I think he's so good. But I also think he's incredibly overrated at the same time. I think he's a top 10 quarterback, definitely top 15 quarterback, but probably top 10. But this idea that he's some sort of like next coming of God at quarterback, that's what I'm off now. And I did used to think that. I thought he was going to be, I thought he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but he just struggles in key moments. He struggles. Their defense is horrendous. I think the coach, is it Taylor the coach? No, Taylor's the Bengals coach. Who's the coach here again? The idiot that fucking cost them the playoffs last year by being a moron. What's his name? Is it Zach Taylor?
No,
Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley. Yeah. Zach Taylor's Bengals. I just said it twice. Brandon
coach.
Staley, I think, is in real trouble. I think with a couple of years left on Herbert's rookie deal, they need to get a new coach in. I think they'll fire Brandon Staley.
They're going to get Sean Payton. It's easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Because
Sean Payton, get Drew Brees into QB coach so he doesn't have to be on the fucking telecast anymore because I can't stand him.
Can you take Jason Garrett off too? Oh, that'd be nice. But do not put him anywhere near Herbert, though, please. I don't want to see that.
Is there anything that Jason Garrett is actually good at? Like I haven't never he did win Coach of the Year one year. Like it's probably a bit harsh.
Backup quarterback, I think.
And he played in the NFL for like 10 years. So he was obviously a good football player. But I meant like post that Coach of the Year win for Dallas, has he been fucking good at anything? He's horrendous. He was awful at the Giants. He's an awful presenter. Like just so boring. No go about him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jason Garrett, if you're listening. You're welcome to come on the podcast and defend yourself. I'd probably sit here in awe of you because you're an NFL coach. But anyway, that's where we're at. Chiefs to win this division for me. At this point, I don't think I think the Raiders are a bigger chance of making the playoffs. The Chargers have the Dolphins this week, who will beat them. The Dolphins will 100% beat them, and the Raiders have the Rams, and they will win that game against the Rams. The Rams are horrendous, and the Rams are probably going to start Baker Mayfield.
The Chargers will probably, after this week, they should be able to win their last 3 games against the Colts, Rams, and Broncos, but
not enough.
I could see them charging out of that.
Yeah, Colts, Rams, Broncos. Like I can see losing to Denver the last game of the season. They'll need the Jets to lose, and then the Jets will lose in the morning game, and then it'll be like, oh, all they have to do is beat the Broncos, and they'll lose 10-7 or something like that.
The problem is they can. I don't think they can get to 10 wins. I think they'll lose to Tennessee too. Their 32 ranked defense, rush defense against Derrick Henry, like hard pass on that. So
the rush defense has been terrible for 5 years.
Sorry?
The rush defense has been terrible for 5 years. Like they have not fixed that part of their game for years.
Yeah, I mean Staley's the defensive coach.
Yeah, he's gone. He might be a bit of a Dan Quinn where he goes back and he's a DC and he's a great DC, but like Dan Quinn also took the Falcons to a Super Bowl, so it's probably unfair. I just think he cost them the playoffs last year. That's got to leave a crap taste in your mouth. He's been horrendous as a coach this year, made poor decisions. I think you can't give him any more excuses. You just got to move on. Everyone's going to want Sean Payton, though. Everyone.
Yeah.
The problem is, how are Miami going to get out of Mike McDaniels to get Sean Payton? That's what I want to know now.
Come on. That's not him. Mike McDaniel's been good.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I think he's a really good coach, and I actually really like him. But the whole plan was to fire Flores and get Payton, and then Flores just blew it up in its path.
Well, the plan was also to sign Brady and him become owner or GM or whatever.
Do you reckon the Bucks would preferred that?
Brady preferred it. His marriage might be still good.
Apparently, he's going back to New England now. You can just have old Mac Jones back in New England.
There was a rumor. I mean, because there's some weird stuff with that. But it would be more of a craft kind of thing than a Belichick type of thing.
Belichick's going to get fired after this year anyway.
For what?
I don't know. for building an average team. For building an average team and finding some level of success every year with crap players all around. That's what he's going to get fired.
The worst players ever.
Build a fucking better team. For the first time in your life, Belichick, maybe just sign some guys who are fucking good. Like, just go out and steal everyone's good football players.
No, they're just going to sign a bunch of average guys, but I digress.
Just draft terrible players in the first and second round, but pick up guys late in the fifth and sixth that can get the job done for you. Don't ever worry about bringing elite talent into the building, and just keep getting your way through seasons at 6-6 because you haven't got Brady anymore. You haven't got Brady yet. All right, let's start. We'll go over to the NFC. We've got the NFC East. Record-wise, the best division in football, comfortably. I'm just going to start straight out, and I've been saying this for weeks. The Washington football team and the New York Giants are not good football teams. They're just not. They beat crappy teams and again, we talk about teams that have got lucky, like they get lucky in games. It was so fun to watch them draw on the weekend. Like they're garbage. The Cowboys are going to sweep. The Cowboys have already swept the Giants. They're going to sweep Washington next week. They play Houston this week and Washington. The Eagles are going to pump Washington twice in the last 5 games. I think that one of them will probably make the playoffs, but I would much prefer to watch. I'd prefer the Lions to make the playoffs than the Giants or Washington any day of the week. Give me Lions, give me Packers, give me Falcons over them. Like maybe not Falcons, but Lions are like I think they're horrendous. I think they are awful teams.
I think whoever wins this weird Commanders Giants game again, we get to see it again this week.
Next week.
Yeah. Like
whoever wins gets the wild card. That's probably fair.
Gets in the playoffs.
Can't they what if they just both tie again and then they lose every other game and then they both miss out? That'd be the dream.
I guess the Lions or the Packers would just have to kind of win out. This is going to be ugly. It's going to be real ugly.
I'm on Pro Football Focus again for the Giants. They're ranked 25th in offense, 29th in defense, and 30th in special team. Like they're an atrocious football team. Not atrocious. They just bottom end that have found a way to win some games. And if you go to Washington, it's just loading up now. I'd go as far to say they're probably similar. At least they're a good defense. At least
Washington. They have a good defense. They're
good
10th
defense
in DVOA.
If I hear one more fucking person talk about Tyler Heinicke and how good he is, I'm gonna blow my brains out, Corey. He is such a shit quarterback.
No one's saying that.
He's just a winner. The kid's just a winner. Yeah, so was who was the Cowboys backup quarterback for 5 weeks? Cooper Rush. So was Cooper Rush. I had dudes literally fighting me about Cooper Rush. I'm like, Prescott's going to be the starter when he's back. No, he's not. Cooper Rush is winning. They're going to leave him in. I'm like, you're an idiot.
All these guys are the same, man. They're all the same. They're like the gunslinger kind of guys that, when things are going well, it looks really good, and when things don't go well, it looks really bad. Like Mike White,
Ask them who their favorite player was growing up, and they all say Brett Favre. Like, I modeled my game after Brett Favre. Just throw the ball out there. And
like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
The Fitz.
It looks great for about 8 weeks, and then it doesn't look good for about 4 weeks straight.
Matt Schwab managed to hide it for like 4 seasons that he was just a backup quarterback.
Matt Schwab was not a gunslinger.
We'll have a conversation.
I'm not putting him in that.
Matt Schwab's actually a fun story. He had some great seasons that people would forget. He threw for 5,000 yards one year. Do you know that? Now, so did Jameis Winston. So it's not a strong argument.
There's a gunslinger.
There's a gun. His favorite quarterback growing up, Brett Favre. Brett Favre, love Brett Favre. All these backups love Brett Favre because they turn the ball over heaps and they compare themselves to Brett Favre. It's like, yeah, Brett Favre also threw a fuck ton of touchdowns to make up for all the interceptions he was throwing. Let's talk about the two good teams in this division. We'll start with the Cowboys. I actually was surprised with the Cowboys this year. I'm surprised with both the Eagles and the Cowboys. I thought the Eagles would be decent. I think I had them winning the division. Let me double check.
As the 1 seed.
Yeah, you did. Everyone else had the Eagles, but me and Will had the Cowboys. I had them in the playoffs as the wild card. So I didn't think they'd be this good. I didn't think Jalen Hurts would be this good. I thought he'd hold them back a little bit more, but their scheme's outstanding and he's playing at a really, really high rate. They've got great receivers, great offensive line, great defensive line, great defense in general. They're the most well-rounded team in the NFL, the Eagles. There's just no denying it. As much as I hate the Eagles and hate that they're good, I got to respect them. They're an outstanding football team, and I think they're going to be. I was thinking they'd get someone to beat them in the playoffs. I don't see who's going to beat them. I know people are saying, the Cowboys could beat them in a couple of weeks when they play. I just don't think the Cowboys have the firepower on offense to compete with the Eagles if they get going. And the Cowboys' defense is really good, but the Eagles are so dynamic on offense, they're probably going to score 30 points on any sort of defense. And then you're relying on the Cowboys to almost be perfect defensively, or they have to get a good lead at the start of the game. I think they're both good teams. I just think the Eagles have a bit more firepower up their sleeve when it comes to scoring. The Cowboys are a better defense, but yeah, I think the Eagles are just a bit stronger all around.
Yeah, I think the way the Eagles are playing right now, I don't think it's tough. I think it all comes down to Jalen Hurts and if he can win those tough playoff games. We saw him get dismantled last playoffs, so I think that's what it comes down to. Like,
they were nowhere near they were last year. They were rebuilding last year and they made the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm saying it will come down to him.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's what most playoff games are going to come down to because they're normally one-score games. Like most playoff games, they're down to a few players that are normally either made or not made by the quarterback. But I have the same concerns about Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott.
Yeah, but I don't think like the Cowboys winning in the playoffs. I don't think it's going to come down to Dak. I think it comes down to what that defense can do.
I think so too. I think the defense is out. Dan Quinn, I don't want him to get a head coaching job. I don't want him to leave the Cowboys. I think he's an outstanding defensive coordinator. I think Jerry Jones should pay him whatever the hell he needs to pay him to keep him as a DC, but I don't think it'll happen. I think Dan Quinn will probably be a head coach again next year. I just think he's outstanding. Micah Parsons has been terrific. Trayvon Diggs has really taken that next level as a corner. He's now he's not turning the ball over as much, but his coverage is so good. The teams just aren't targeting him as much as well. So it's, that old double-edged sword last season where he either pick it off or give up a touchdown. He's kind of changed that narrative in his career. His coverage has got really, really good, really tight. I think he's a good player. DeMarcus Lawrence playing at a high level. Guys like Leighton Vander Esch back playing at a good level. And then they just seem to make like a couple of good signings every year. Like it's Malik Hooker this year. I know he was there last year, but he's kind of stepped up this season. They're just a really well-rounded defense, well coached. I think both these teams are playoff teams. The Cowboys have got the Texans this week, then I think the Eagles, and then they've got the Commanders, and I can't remember who else. Like the Cowboys are going to win 3 more games comfortably. They're probably going to be an 11 or 12 win team and be the 5th seed and probably go to Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Who we can roll over to Tampa Bay Buccaneers now, division, the NFC South, which is
oh my god, the worst division in football.
And you know what the worst thing is? Like these teams are just fucking hard to watch. Like I watched Tampa Bay yesterday, it was a good game. The last 5 minutes was just some vintage Brady stuff where he drove the field twice and won the game. But even on the game-winning drive, it just looked hard. Like it looked like that offense was just struggling to find plays. I'm still kind of shocked they scored twice. Like they're just not a good team, the Bucs. I just don't think they're very similar to the Giants and Washington. They're very hard to watch on offense. Defensively, they're nowhere near as good as what they were. They've still got some talent. They're certainly not a bad defense, but they're just not quite the same. And then I don't think Atlanta have the caliber to win enough games to win this division. I certainly don't think the Panthers do, and I certainly don't think the Saints do. I think the Saints and the Panthers are done. Maybe Atlanta can turn it around and try and win that division, but I'm not sure what they've. I think they've got a couple of tough games on their run home, but I don't know. Do you think any of these teams in this division are good? I think they're all crap.
Yeah, I think they've all had their kind of moments where we thought that they might have come out of the ashes here. I mean, even the Panthers, there was a time when we were like, oh, maybe they can do something here, but that hasn't happened. The Falcons the same. I know they're hanging on to like this last playoff spot, but I really want to see what Desmond Ridder can do with this offense. I'm guessing not very much, but at the same time, it'd be nice to see the kid play. The Saints, I just kind of feel bad for the Saints offensively. I think they're a mess. Like whatever Dennis Allen thought he was doing with his offense is just a disaster. They don't use Taysom Hill enough. They don't use Alvin Kamara enough. It's just like Kamara's like your best player. Like I don't understand how they're
shell of his
not using him.
I don't know if that's scheme or him. He just doesn't look nearly as good, Kamara.
No, he's good. They're just not giving him the ball.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The offensive line's not as good anymore, but you could still pass him the ball. He's still one of the best pass catchers in the NFL from the running back position. So I don't understand why they can't figure out a way how to give him the ball. It's scheme. Like we see it with everyone else. Like other teams scheme their best players and put them in a position to succeed. Like there's no reason why Kamara shouldn't have like 5, 6, 7 catches a game.
You're right. He should be touching the ball 20 to 25 times a game, no doubt, whether that's catching, running, in space, just finding a way to get the ball in his hands. Even the Falcons were even doing it early in the season with Kadaro Patterson and finding success.
Right.
So he's just
it's a little bit gimmicky, but at the same time, it's some way to move the ball instead of just Andy Dalton heaving shots to Juwan Johnson.
Yeah. Chris Olave has been a really good pickup for them. But again, he's cost them 2 first-round picks because they traded up for him. And the Eagles now are going to have a top 10 pick from the Saints that they've given up for Chris Olave. Like, I guess they thought they'd be good, but I don't know, like a top 10 pick. And then what was Chris Olave drafted? Like 18th in the draft, something like that?
Maybe earlier than that.
Yeah, well, either way, so like a mid first round pick and then maybe a potential top 5, definitely top 10 pick in the first round. I think they could take that back. They would, as good as Chris Olave has been.
Yeah, he was 11th pick overall. So
there you go. So basically, you're going to get two top 10 picks pretty much for Chris Olave. Like that's a lot to give up. Now, if you were really good and made the playoffs and it was only like a pick 25, then you could probably live with it. But the Eagles are now going to get a top 10 pick because of the Saints. So. Just talking at the Bucs, they've got a tough run home. They play San Fran this week. Then they've got Bengals. Then they get Arizona, Carolina, Falcons. I honestly think this is going to come down to like the last 2 games. I think whoever wins that last game from Tampa and Falcons, because the Falcons have got a couple of tough games and some easier ones. They could probably be right in it come into the season. Falcons did win their game earlier in the year, didn't they?
They lost by 6.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I don't know. I think the Bucs will win the division. It's hard to bet against Brady to win the division. They'll finish 4th.
They're winning the division. They're winning the division.
And then whoever finishes 5th is just going to come in and kick the living shit out of them. Who knows? It might be the first time the Cowboys ever beat Tom Brady. Maybe.
I am not looking forward to that game. And I would not be looking forward to that game if I were you as a Cowboy fan.
I will find it unbearable because we've never beaten him. We've never beaten Tom Brady. Like Richie said the other day, he's like, "Oh, we're going to win the division, and then you guys are going to come in and kick the crap out of us." And I'm like, "When do we ever kick the crap out of Tom Brady? Like, we never beat him. Literally, we didn't beat New England for 15 years, and he leaves, and we beat him the first year he leaves. Like, yeah, we are not beating. I don't want that game at all. I want us to like, can we somehow get the 6th seed? Like Giants win a few games, crap ball team. Let's go over to the last division in the NFC, the NFC West. You've got San Fran at 8-4, Seattle 7-5, and then the Cardinals and the Rams. Let's quickly talk Rams. Awful Super Bowl hangover. Bad injuries, like really bad. Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford, but they definitely had the hangover. Aaron Donald doesn't look nearly as good. Jalen Ramsey's literally getting like taunted by DK Metcalf. And then did you see when DK Metcalf motioned and then like signaled for him to come with him and then beat him for the game-winning touchdown later? Like he's not playing badly, but he's not playing well. Aaron Donald's still really good, but the money they are paying these guys, they're just hamstringing their own team. And I don't know how they're going to rebuild because they've got no draft picks. So it's going to be really challenging for them to see if they can bounce back next season.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm not a big Stafford guy. I think he kind of caught the.
He served his purpose. He served his purpose for a season. They won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, good for him. Tip of the hat to him and his career. But yeah, I'm not a big Stafford guy. Don't know. They need another receiver, or Cooper Kupp's going to die on the field. He can't possibly just get 180 targets every season without something bad happening like did this year. Yeah, they just have to come up with something better. Like their running backs are terrible.
Then Cam Akers has been playing now, and he looks okay.
They don't want Cam Akers.
I know that's the thing. He's been outcast, and now he's playing, and he's actually looked better than any of their other. Like everyone thought Henderson was the guy.
All the running backs are terrible.
But they cut Henderson just out of nowhere.
Yeah, because his contract's up at the end of the year. So there is probably a quid pro quo there or something, and he's like, "Just let me out now if you're not going to re-sign me." And they're like, "Yeah, cool."
Yeah, potentially, but. Yeah, it's not good. Let's talk to some. We'll quickly talk Arizona. I think Cliff Kingsbury's getting fired. I think the Kyler Murray.
I think Kyler should get fired because he is terrible.
He's been hurt, but you're right. Like
no.
Well, they shouldn't have signed him when Call of Duty was about to come out. You don't sign Kyler Murray when Call of Duty's coming out that year. You don't do it. He can't handle a double XP weekend. He stays up all night. So. Yeah, they're in a bit of strife in Arizona. They've got a bit more talent. Like Hopkins is still a top receiver in the NFL. He's outstanding. That was still a steal getting him for a second round pick. But I think defensively they're awful. Like the JJ Watt signing has not worked out, which I didn't think anyone thought it was going to be a dynamic signing. But Isaiah Simmons, who I love, they can't find a way to work with him.
He's not good.
I think he's good. I think he needs to be played more.
He's too gimmicky. He doesn't have a position.
He's the sort of guy that'll go to another team and be really good somewhere else. Like, okay, tell me if he gets to Bill Belichick, what Bill Belichick does with him, because he's that sort of dude that'll end up there.
Yeah, well, that's different.
Yeah, he'll find a way. Good teams would find a way to use a guy that's that athletic. They've got that other middle linebacker, Collins, hasn't been great. Buda Baker's really dropped off. Offensively, they're basically DeAndre Hopkins or bust. Brown's been okay this year, but he's been hurt. I don't know why they traded for Robbie Anderson. That was one of the most random trades I've ever seen. What a waste. That guy's an absolute fucking idiot. So do you think Cliff Kingsbury gets fired?
Yeah, I mean, they have to fire him now.
Yeah, well, good thing was...
Disappointing season after disappointing season.
Now, although I had the Rams making the playoffs, I was the only one that predicted the 49ers to win the division. So...
Nice.
I also picked the Cowboys, and I picked the Packers.
Did you see what the Patrick Peterson said about Kyler?
Yeah. What a clout chaser. That guy's a sack of shit. You don't go and call somebody like that.
What do you mean?
On his podcast where he said that all Kyler Murray cares about is him.
Yeah, that's true.
But here's my point with it. And I thought Kyler Murray's response was pretty good when he was like, you're meant to be a mentor and all this sort of stuff. You haven't tried to call me. Then I think he went back and said, I have tried to call you or something like that. That comment from him, that's Patrick Peterson purely going, what's going to grab some headlines here when I talk about Kyler Murray? I'm just gonna badmouth him. I actually reckon that's shit ass from him. And maybe he's right. Maybe
I think it's fine because Patrick Peterson is all-time Cardinal great, so he can say what he wants about the Cardinals. If it was like some random dude that on the Vikings that never played for the Cardinals, then sure.
No, I reckon that's off.
But Patrick Peterson played there for how long? 10 years?
12 years maybe. Like, outstanding player. But I just don't... As Kyler Murray said, like, you could have just reached out to me instead of saying it on your podcast to make me...
Why? He's just saying what people are scared to say, like he said.
I guess we badmouth people when they don't have any personality with questions and stuff like that. And then when they do, they're like, "Oh, you're clout chasing." He's probably just being honest. I know Patrick Peterson's not really a headline grabbing sort of guy, is he? He never has been. So
Well, yeah, I haven't really.
I
heard
don't know.
much from him.
I'm not sure.
It's not like he's very good anymore anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
He's okay. He's okay. He's on the
He's
best
fine.
team in football, which is the Minnesota Vikings, that you love. Who we actually didn't talk about yet, which we'll go to them next. San Fran, Seattle. San Fran without Jimmy Garoppolo, he's going to be gone for the season. I thought they'd try and claim Baker. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. I don't know, because he'd be better than Brock Purdy. Maybe he's not. Who knows? Did you hear Richard Sherman's comments on Baker Mayfield?
No.
When he said, "Oh, should anyone give him a chance?" And he was like, "Why? If he was a 7th or 6th round pick, he wouldn't have been out of the league 2 years ago."
Well, that's the NFL in general. Every first round pick gets a million chances.
But he was saying that he doesn't think Baker Mayfield's even as talented as guys that went late. People got sucked into him. I was like, yeah, fair enough. It's a tight division though now with Jimmy Garoppolo hurt. Seattle have the best quarterback in the division.
Yep.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought we'd be sitting here on the 7th of December saying that Geno Smith is the best quarterback in the NFC West? Not me.
Not me.
It's pretty amazing. Who do you have winning this? I think both of them are playoff teams, but I just have a feeling Seattle are going to run. What am I talking about? San Fran's defense is so good; they're going to carry them home.
Yeah, I think looking at the Seahawks, kind of finish here. I mean, that 49ers game, December 16th, is huge. I think if 49ers can beat them there, then it's pretty much curtains. Seahawks then have the Chiefs and the Jets, which I think will be tough games for them as well. And then they got the Rams to finish off the season. So I think they could for sure get 2 more wins and possibly 3.
Yeah, I think so. I think both those teams are in the playoffs, though.
Yeah, for sure.
And then last division, the division that is owned by the Minnesota Vikings at 10-2, and that's the NFC North. And I know you want to talk about the Minnesota Vikings because you hate them. You think they're lucky. What? Isn't it you that you don't like? You don't like the Vikings?
I'm from Minnesota, first of all.
Yeah, but you go for the Patriots, but you're from Minnesota. That just shows you how much you hate the Vikings.
I don't hate them.
You're anti-Viking. That's what you are.
That is false.
What's your take on them? I know you've been waiting for them. You got some hot take on them. Come on, hit me with it.
I love Kirk Cousins. 1.
Who doesn't? That guy's dog.
2, yes, they are very lucky. I mean, you talked about the Raiders and their luck. Well, the Vikings are the opposite of that. So, they're 10-2. Their DVOA is one of the worst for a 10-2 team. I think it is the worst. Their point differential is like, I don't know, +9 or something, +10, something ridiculous like that.
It's 10. It's 10.
Yeah. So, look, the offense is middle of the pack. Their defense is worse than that. It's interesting team in a way, just because Justin Jefferson makes plays. But I mean, they punted like 5 straight times against that Jets team last week to let them back in the game. Like the second half was just brutal. They need to figure something out.
Jets should have won that game. Like 3,
I know.
5 red zone stops or something like that. Like it was bad.
Yeah, I mean, even the Patriots game with Vikings won. Like the Patriots lost that game.
Yeah,
it's not like the Vikings did anything special. No. There was penalties and false starts and running into the kicker and all kinds of stuff going down. So,
well, you saw what the Cowboys did to them a couple of weeks ago, because I was worried about that game. The Cowboys just annihilated them from start to finish. Like it wasn't even close. So, I think they're more limited. I think Jefferson's really good. I do like Kirk Cousins. I know some people have a problem with him. I don't get it. I think he's absolutely capable of winning them a Super Bowl. But I just think teams like this, they're kind of the team that gets knocked out in the first round of the playoffs because they're not as the luck kind of runs out at some point. So
everyone's like, oh, they're only a 2-point favorite, and then they lose.
I don't know if this can happen. Man, I hope Detroit just win out and win 10 games and make the playoffs. That'd make me so happy. I don't think it's going to happen. I can't see it happening. Who have they got? Just interestingly enough, let's see who they play, because
they got the Vikings this week.
They will beat the Vikings this week.
Oh, they could win out. They could win out. Vikings, Jets, Panthers, Bears, and Packers.
Fuck. That could be a playoff, mate.
They're all winnable games.
That would be outstanding. And they're finding their feet. Jared Goff has been okay. Like when they don't turn the ball over.
Jared Goff is the prototypical okay quarterback.
Yeah, he's the middle of the pack. If you
he's exactly the middle.
If you've got a guy worse than him, he's the Dalton line. If you've got a guy worse than him, you need a quarterback. If you've got a guy better, you're good. You can ride with it. He's just a date.
If you have him, you're like,
Keep in mind, Detroit will have a top 5 pick this year as well.
Yeah, they have the number 4 pick right now, 3.
Yeah,
because the Rams. Yeah,
because the Rams. So they're going to have a top 10 pick. There's they could potentially add a CJ Stroud.
Yeah, because you would think, who is it that has the Bears? They probably won't take a quarterback.
The Texans definitely need a quarterback. Bears won't take a quarterback.
The Texans will take one. Yeah. The Bears don't, and I think there's someone else that
the Eagles.
The Eagles don't need quarterback.
Yeah, they're gonna have a top 10 quarterback. They're gonna have 2. The Eagles could have 2 top 10 picks in this year's draft, and be the best team in the NFL. Same thing about the Eagles. As much as and everyone knows how much I can't stand them, their team rebuild and the way they manage their team is fucking outstanding. The way they've built themselves. Really, really outstanding. So, well done to them. Hope the Lions do. Do you reckon, last question on this division, is Aaron Rodgers on the Green Bay Packers next year?
Yes.
I think he's either retired.
Once he retires. Yeah.
I think he retires or plays somewhere else, personally.
Well, they'd have to trade him because his cap number is ridiculous.
I think they'll trade him. Maybe to Denver. Maybe they can just load up on a couple of washed up quarterbacks. All right, let's get to our awards. Quickly just go first coach fired. I got it right. I had Matt Rule. You all suck. You had Cliff Kingsbury, who you're not wrong about. Richie had Mike McCarthy of the 8-3 Cowboys.
Oh, ouch.
Brad had Ron Rivera, who at one point I thought was there. Will had
there, yeah.
And then, Kempy had Matt Rule as well, so we both did. Who is your coach of the year? You had at the start of the year, Corey, you had Kevin O'Connell, the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, that's not bad. Do you want to stay with it, or you got someone else?
Let's keep it.
Keep it. They're a flashy team. I had Sean McDermott. The only reason I think Sean McDermott should be in contention for it, but the problem is that the good teams coaches never win. You have to be like a crappy team that got good. So on that note, I'm going to say Roberts. No, you know what? I'm going to go right out there. I'm going with Dan Campbell.
You think the Lions win out, make the playoffs?
Lions going to make the playoffs, and Dan Campbell's going to be coach of the year. And his speech is just going to that'll be the end of my life. My final breath will be watching Dan Campbell's coach of the year winning speech when my heart explodes from wanting to run through a brick wall for that man. There you go. That's what I'm going with. That's my story. Let's go to comeback player. You had Saquon Barkley.
Oh, so close.
Who do you reckon it's going to be?
Gino.
Can he win it just because he's been benched? Does that count?
What do you mean? He came from nowhere.
Okay, Gino. I'm changing. I had Michael Thomas and I changed mine to Geno Smith. I changed mine to Barkley because I thought it was only if you were injured. So basically, if you're just some shit truck sitting on the bench somewhere, you can win it too.
Yeah. Gino was the second round pick.
Yeah, I remember.
Like he's the best quarterback the Jets have ever drafted in the last 15, 20 years.
So mean, but it's very definitely true. Do you know what? You think back, remember when Geno Smith was a rookie and he was going to be the starter, and he didn't pay that guy $600, and he punched him and he broke his jaw, and then he never got his starting job back from Magic.
I heard the rendition of that story on a podcast. I think it was what's his name? Damien Woody talked about that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He's all about his maturation process.
Let's do defensive rookie of the year. I had Hutchinson. You had Sauce Gardner. You're going to roll with Sauce?
Ooh, Sauce. What a great call by me. Yeah, Sauce is the favorite right now. And it's the clear favorite. I called that shit.
Yeah, Sauce Gardner is the clear favorite. The only one I had Hutchinson, who's been good. I'm going to go with Tariq Woolen from the Seattle Seahawks. I think he's been absolutely outstanding this year, so I'm going to roll with him. But if Sauce gets it, you won't have many arguments. Offensive rookie of the year, you had Desmond Ridder, obviously expecting a benching.
Not happening.
You want to stick
Yeah.
with that, or you want to go with someone else?
I'm definitely going with Garrett. I'm going with Garrett Wilson of the Jets.
Sorry, I've got a kid banging at my door trying to get in, so they're gone. So who'd you go with? Who are you going with now?
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson. I had Damian Pierce. It's probably not far off, but I'm going to turn to Chris Olave. I think he's going to have probably the most receiving yards from rookies. I do like Garrett Wilson too. I think he could definitely get it done. Let's go to defensive player of the year. You had Cameron Jordan of the Saints.
Ooh.
Yeah, not
That's not
a great one
that's
by
not-
you. Do you want to change it?
Sure, Michael Parsons. Thanks.
Michael Parsons. He's been fucking outstanding. I had Joey Bosa, and I am going to change it. And I'm not going to change it to Micah Parsons because there's been one player who's been slightly, and over the next 5 weeks it could change, but slightly better. And that's Joe Bosa's brother, Nick Bosa, who has been absolutely outstanding for the 49ers. Again, they're a top 5 defense as well. I think Micah Parsons' impact doing other things might win him the award. Like that will help him because he doesn't always pass rush. You know, Bosa's got more sacks, but he's a hand in the ground end. That's all he does. Parsons does a lot of other things for that defense too. I think his best position's rushing off the edge, but he certainly does different things. So they'd both be worthy winners, but I just have to roll with Nick Bosa. I just think he's been really, really, really good for them. Offensive player of the year, you had Justin Jefferson. I don't mind. I don't mind. That's not bad. You want to stick with it?
Yeah, man.
Stick with Jay Jettas. You on him?
Yeah, that's a money pick.
I'm changing mine from Debo. It'd be easy just to change it to Justin Jefferson. That'd be easy. So I'm not going to do the easy way. I'm changing mine to Josh Jacobs, the running back at the Raiders. He's been phenomenal. I think they're going to win a few games down the stretch. He's going to lead the league in rushing. He's about 300 yards in front of everyone else. Most touchdowns. He's been awesome. He's really making the Raiders pay for not picking up his 5th-year option because they've got a big decision to make this offseason, which the right decision, Corey, should be whenever you have to sign your running back to a long-term deal, what do you do?
Don't sign him.
You do not sign them. You do not sign running backs to a long-term deal. That is the answer. Over to our last one of the show, MVP. You had Lamar Jackson. I think early on you were on. I think the injuries to the offense has really hurt him, and now his injury is going to hurt him. Who do you want to change to?
MVP. It's got to be Mahomes or Hurts. I'm gonna go way off the spectrum. I'm going Tyreek Hill.
You're an idiot.
I think he gets to 2,000 yards.
2,000 yards. How many yards is he on?
He is currently on
2,000 yards would be big. Do you reckon with 5 games left, you think he breaks the record for receiving yards?
Which is the only
if
way
he gets 2,000 yards, he'll be offensive player of the year for sure.
That's just haterade. They should just give him MVP because he's made Tua into actually a quarterback.
But this is the thing. Do you know what will happen if he gets 2,000 yards? Tua will win MVP.
No, he won't. He didn't play. He missed many games.
That's true. I had Justin Herbert. Obviously not going to happen. I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts. People know how much I can't stand the Eagles. So for me to actually do this, you must believe that I think he's a good player. I like the way he goes about it. I think he's actually really good. He seems like a really good leader. He's pretty humbled. I enjoy him. I actually enjoy watching him play football. It's hard for me to admit that I enjoy watching the Eagles. They're a very fun offense to watch. I think Jalen Hurts is the MVP. If this continues, if they win the NFC, if they've got the best record in the NFL, which like realistically, like unless they drop a game to the Cowboys or something and they lose 2, maybe 3, I think this team's going to be the top seed in the NFL, and Jalen Hurts is going to be the MVP. And unfortunately, I don't think as deserved. Nick Sirianni's probably going to be the head coach of the year, which I don't think he should be, but he will be. That's it, Corey. That's the show.
Sweet. We did it.
We did it, mate. Hey, it's been a few weeks off, but it's just like riding a bicycle, like riding a really attractive bicycle, doing a podcast with you, you know?
For
Just
sure.
a couple of good looking dudes talking football. That's what everyone says.
It's that simple.
Only when it's me and you, though. When it's Richie, they're like, "Oh, what's that one hot guy doing with Richie?" You know. No, but mate, thank you very much. I appreciate you jumping on and doing the show with me. I want to thank our sponsors, Burnley Brewing and US Sports Gear. I forgot to give them a plug at the top of the show. I'm very sorry, US Sports Gear. Head to ussportsgear.com.au. If you need any football equipment, even baseball, softball, bags, anything you can imagine sporting-wise, American sporting-wise, there you go. And obviously Burnley Brewing, head in there and grab a beer. They're outstanding. And Corey, I might send that box. Yeah, that you've done the podcast.
I would appreciate it, man. I check the mail every day. Like, this box is on the way. I feel it.
Maybe you should just like, instead of checking the mail, just like I'll tell you when I send it.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I will send it. And the boys at the College Football Podcast, I will send yours to when you fucking deserve it. Okay, when you deserve it, you will get it. That's my comeback for you guys. Stop badmouthing me at the top of every one of your shows. Okay. But yeah, I'll send it. Thank you to our sponsors. Corey, thank you for being here, mate. Really do appreciate it. And thank you to everyone. As I said, me and Richie are trying to get back to weekly shows. It's just really challenging at the moment. We've got 2 weeks left of our football season. We're in finals at the moment, and then things are going to open up. So we're hoping to do a podcast again next week. It's always the plan. But if we are gone for a couple more weeks, please bear with us. But we'll do what we can. And then as soon as the football season's finished, we'll be back to our weekly shows down the stretch. Maybe me and you, Corey, can just do them late on a Monday or Wednesday night for the next few weeks because I can do them later. So we'll make it work.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And you'll see us when you're looking at us.